This is lesson 4.4, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. Your objectives are to write the equation of a line that passes through a given point parallel to a given line, and to write the equation of a line that passes through a given point that's perpendicular to a given line. Two non-vertical lines are parallel if they have this same slope. So whatever the slope of the one line is, that's the slope of the line parallel to it. Also, vertical lines are always parallel. When you do this, first, find the slope, and you can find the slope of your answer by finding the slope of the line they give you. Then use a given point with that slope and find b, and finally substitute into the equation to get y equals mx plus b. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the graph of each equation. Number 1. It goes through the point 5, 1, and it's parallel to y equals x minus 8. We'll find the slope first. Parallel lines have the same slope, so the answer will have the same slope as that line. That line has a slope of 1. It's the unwritten 1 in front of the x. So my slope is 1. Next, find b. So I'll use the point 5, 1. So x is 5 and y is 1. Find b and then substitute in for the final answer. Y equals mx plus b. Y is 1. M is 1, x is 5. Solve for b. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract 5 from each side, and b is negative 4. Then I use the negative 4 for b and the 1 for m, and substitute in for the final answer. Y equals m is 1. X plus b is negative 4. To simplify, 1x is just x, plus negative 4 is just minus 4. Y equals x minus 4. Find the slope first. Use that slope and the x and y from your point to find b, and then substitute in for the final answer. Number 3. I need a line parallel to 4x minus 3y equals negative 12 that goes through the point negative 3, 3. Find the slope first. Well, to find the slope, I'm going to need to get my line in slope-intercept form so I can see what the slope is. So let's solve this equation for y to get slope-intercept form. Start by subtracting 4x from each side. Write the x's first, since they go first in slope-intercept form. Instead of negative 12 minus 4x, say negative 4x minus 12. Solving for y, divide both sides by negative 3. The negative 3's cancel on the left. Now, be careful here. Negative 4x divided by negative 3 is 4/3 x. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is positive 4. Now I can find the slope, which is in front of x. My slope is 4/3. The rest is what we've done many times already. Use that slope and the point negative 3, 3 to find b. Y is 3. M is 4/3, x is negative 3, plus b. That's y equals mx plus b. Solve for b. 4/3 times negative 3 is negative 4. Add 4 to each side, and b is 7. So y equals 4/3 x plus 7. Find the slope first. Use the slope and the point they give you to find b, and then substitute into the final answer. If you don't have slope-intercept form for the line they give you, Solve for y to get slope-intercept form. Number 4. What about a line through the point -2, 2 that's parallel to y equals 4x minus 2? Find the slope first. Well, this is in slope-intercept form, so the number in front of x is the slope, and that's 4. M equals 4. Now use that slope and your point -2, 2 to find b. Y is 2. M is 4. X is -2 plus b. When you solve for b, you get 10. Now write your final answer. The slope is 4, the y-intercept is 10. Y equals 4x plus 10. Notice the 4x is the same as the 4x of the line it's parallel to. The 4's are the same. The slopes are always the same in parallel lines. It has a different y-intercept. The b was 10. But the slopes are always the same in parallel lines. Number 9. What about a line through the point 4, -6 that's parallel to x plus 2y equals 5? Find the slope first. Well, I need to turn that linear equation into slope-intercept form so I can find the slope of it. Let's solve it for y. Subtract x from each side. The x's cancel on the left, and you have 2y on the left. Put the x's first, since x's go first in slope-intercept form. Instead of saying 5 minus x, say -x plus 5. Now divide both sides by 2. 2's cancel on the left, and you have y. -x divided by 2, that's a -1x divided by 2, which is -1/2 x. And then 5 divided by 2 is 5/2. So y equals -1/2 x plus 5/2. We need the slope of that line because parallel lines have the same slope. The slope is -1/2. The slope is the m when it's in the form y equals mx plus b. The slope is -1/2. Now use -1/2 and the point they give you to find b. Y is -6 equals m is -1/2 times x, which is 4, plus b. Solve for b. -1/2 times 4 is -2. Add 2 to both sides, and b is -4. Now we have the slope and we have the y-intercept. Let's write the final answer. Y equals -1/2 x plus -4. And to simplify that, it's just y equals -1/2 x minus 4. Get the slope first. Sometimes you need to solve the equation for y to get it in slope-intercept form, and that way you can find the slope, and then use that slope and the point to find b so you can write your final answer. Always remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Number 10. Find an equation of the line that has a y-intercept of 2 that is parallel to the graph of the line y equals 4x plus 2y equals 8. We'll find the slope first. The line they give me is not in slope-intercept form, so let's solve for y so we can be in slope-intercept form. Subtract 4x from each side. Write the x's first. Instead of 8 minus 4x, say -4x plus 8. Then divide by 2. The 2's cancel on the left, leaving y. -4x divided by 2 is negative 2x, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my slope is negative 2. Remember, parallel lines have the same slope. So my answer has the same slope as that line. Now you might think, they didn't give me a point. Well, they gave you something even better. It is a point, and it's the y-intercept. If the y-intercept is 2, they just gave you b, so we don't have to find b on this one. We know b. Now substitute into the final answer. Y equals mx plus b. M is negative 2, and b is 2. Find the slope first, then find b. In this case, they gave you b, and write the final answer. Always remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Two non-vertical lines are perpendicular if their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other, and vertical and horizontal lines are perpendicular. So remember, if they're parallel, they have the same slope, but if they're perpendicular, their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. Here's some examples. 2/3 and negative 3/2. Those are negative reciprocals. Lines with those slopes are perpendicular. 8 and negative 1/8. Negative 7/9 and 9/7. 1/3 and negative 3. 11/2, which is negative, and 2/11. And remember, vertical and horizontal lines are perpendicular as well. So if one line has a slope that's undefined, the other one has a slope that's 0. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. So the job is the same. Find the slope, then use the slope and a point to find b, and write the final answer. Number 1. On the architect's plans for a new high school, a wall represented by a segment MN has endpoints M, -3, -1, and N, 2, 1. A wall represented by segment PQ has endpoints P, 4, -4, and Q, -2, 11. Are the walls perpendicular? And explain. Well, to find out if they're perpendicular, we need to know if their slopes are negative reciprocals. So let's find the slope of each line. For line MN, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, using points M and N, y2 is 1 minus y1 is -1 over x2 is 2 minus x1 is -3. That gives you 2/5. For the slope of line PQ, y2 is 11 minus y1 is -4 over x2 is -2 minus x1 is 4. That gives you 15 over -6, which is -5/2. Are they perpendicular? Yes, they are. These slopes are negative reciprocals. So yes, the two segments are perpendicular. Determine whether the graphs of the following equations are parallel or perpendicular, and explain. The key is, for each one, find the slope. If the slopes are equal, they're parallel. If the slopes are negative reciprocals, then they're perpendicular. And if it's neither of those, then it's neither. So I need to find the slope of each line. Let's solve each line for y to get it in slope-intercept form and find the slope. For the first one, subtract 2x from each side. Y equals -2x minus 7. The slope is -2. On the second one, Subtract x from each side. Then divide both sides by -2. Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. On that one, the slope is 1/2. Solve the last one for y. Subtract 4x from each side. And multiply both sides by -1. Y equals 4x minus 5. And on that one, the slope is 4. So, are any of these the same? No, so none of them are parallel. Are any of these negative reciprocals? Well, the first two are. Those are perpendicular because -2 and 1/2 are negative reciprocals. So the first two lines are perpendicular. Number 3. Are these lines parallel or perpendicular? Let's find the slope of each one. Solve them for y to get them in slope-intercept form. The first one's already in slope-intercept form. 3x, and the slope is 3. Solve the second one for y. Subtract 6x from each side, and divide both sides by -2. That one also has a slope of 3. When you solve the last one for y, divide both sides by 3, and that one has a slope of 3. They all have the same slope, and since they all have the same slope, they're all parallel. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to the graph of each equation. So, use the negative reciprocal of the given line's slope, and the rest of it, solve it just like we have been. Number 4. The line through the point 4, 2 that's perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. This line has a slope of 1/2. The negative reciprocal of 1/2 is -2, so our answer has a slope of -2. Now let's find b. Use the point and that slope and solve for b. Y is 2, m is -2, x is 4, plus b. When you solve for b, b is 10. Now, use the slope of -2 and the y-intercept of 10. Y equals -2x plus 10. Use the negative reciprocal of the slope of the line they give you. Number 5. A line through the point 2, -3 that's perpendicular to the line y equals -2/3 x plus 4. Find the slope first. The slope of this line is -2/3. The slope of the perpendicular line is the negative reciprocal of that, which is 3/2. Remember, perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. Now use the point and that slope to find b. Y is -3, m is 3/2, x is 2, plus b. When you solve for b, you get -6. b is -6, m is 3/2. Substitute in, get the final answer. Y equals 3/2 x plus -6, which can simplify. Y equals 3/2 x minus 6. Find the slope first. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. Then find b. So remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. When you're writing an equation of a line that's parallel or perpendicular to another line, find the slope first. Sometimes you have to solve the equation for y to get it in slope-intercept form so you can determine what the slope is. And then make sure you find b using the slope in the given point. Always make sure your answers are simplified. Watch your minus signs. Make sure you reduce your fractions.